Hey everybody, it's Cody Brown, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about how applying concepts of game theory can improve business. Let's get started. So what is game theory? Well, back in the 1920s, math wizard John von Neumann wanted to find out why he was so bad at playing poker. He discovered that while he was playing cards, he should have been playing his opponents. It wasn't necessarily about the decisions that he makes, but rather being able to more accurately predict the moves of the other players in the game, knowing how their moves affect him and vice versa. In the 1940s, he teamed up with an economist and wrote Theory of Games and Economic Behavior. It was actually a pretty big deal at the time and made the front page of the New York Times. The theories they presented in this publication would affect how people thought about economics, advertising, politics, and even military strategy. One of the concepts in von Neumann's book was that all competitive games were zero-sum, and that there was always an optimal solution for both parties. Zero-sum games are competitive games where one player's gain is another player's loss. Non-zero-sum games, sometimes referred to as positive-sum games, refer to games that are often non-competitive or cooperative, where both players can lose or they can both win. We're going to talk a little bit about both of these, but we're going to start with the characteristic of zero-sum games, which is the Nash equilibrium. The Nash equilibrium is a state where each player knows the other's strategy, and they will not benefit by changing their own strategy. The parties are in equilibrium in that there is no back and forth of one party dominating over the other or one losing and needing to change strategy. They are at an impasse and can stay there indefinitely. Let's look at a business scenario. Imagine if two competing burger joints have the same quality of food, employ the same pricing, and engage in the same type of advertising. In theory, they'd receive an equal share of business. Even if these characteristics were different and their volume of customers were different, if they are fully aware of their opponent's strategy and nothing changes, they will remain at equilibrium. But in reality, we know that businesses are constantly changing strategy in advertising, special pricing, cutting costs, promotions, etc., in an attempt to take market share away from their competitors. It's all a zero-sum game to not only get the most points or customers, but to ensure that your competitors don't get those customers. Nash equilibrium may prove to be the mutually agreed upon best scenario for two competing businesses. However, that scenario might not prove to be best for the customers. That's where socially optimal solutions come into play. In business, a socially optimal solution is not only the best scenario for the competitors, but it also proves to be the best scenario for their customers as well. Whereas the Nash equilibrium dictates that neither side can change their strategy without a detrimental effect to their own business, socially optimal solutions actually give competitors that flexibility. The market share for each party could even be the same as when employing the Nash equilibrium. However, each party is trusting that the other will stay the course to remain in this state. So why do it? What's the benefit? The answer is consumers. This is the best solution for them in terms of price, location, or quality. The socially optimal solution is the only solution where all parties are equally satisfied with the result, which includes the consumer. But we know that businesses are typically out for their own self-interest and bottom line. And if customers are going to buy your product no matter what, why give your competitors that flexibility to take your market share? In order to understand a little bit more about how businesses compete for market share, we should look at Hotelling's law. Have you ever wondered about why similar businesses open in proximity to one another? It seems like there's always a Lowe's right across the street from a Home Depot. One part of town has no fast food restaurants, meanwhile one city block has 14. Coffee shop, coffee shop, coffee shop, coffee shop. Am I right? Hotelling's law, sometimes called Hotelling's model of spatial competition, explores the theory that it is beneficial for competitors to produce very similar products, and it also discusses why it's beneficial for similar companies to be as close together as possible. Think of this in terms of socially optimal solutions and Nash equilibrium. With socially optimal solutions, similar businesses would be located a good distance apart, but equally close to their customer base. This is the best solution for both the businesses and the customer. They'll receive the same amount of business and are more conveniently accessed by the customers they're now closer to. Because that's not how businesses think, they move toward Nash equilibrium. They would want more market share and attempt to move to a more central location and become the closest option for the most amount of people. As each business does this, they wind up closer and closer together until they're practically right next door. All right, enough theory talk. Let's look at some real-world examples. A lot of industries and individual companies out there employ characteristics of games, whether on purpose or not. Many of these assist in driving sales and generating tons of free publicity. Think about the first few years of iPhone and iPad releases. Limited supply, high demand, who can get there early enough to get the hottest new device. This is a zero-sum or even a negative-sum game. There are only so many winners and thousands of losers who spent a lot of debatably valuable time to walk away with no device and will have to wait to get theirs. Think about what they did. You fight for a top position for the privilege of spending hundreds of dollars at their store. The same principle is used throughout the consumer retail space. Black Friday is another example. Thousands of people crushing through the doors of your local Walmart and Best Buy to pick up the cheapest year or more old electronics that they're probably just going to try to sell on Craigslist. Oh, the insanity, the selfishness, the media coverage, and just call me the Grinch, the sales. Think about whenever a new Chick-fil-A opens up. They've even got a name for it, the Camp Out Giveaway. They know it's a game. The first 100 people in line for the opening of a new Chick-fil-A get a meal every week for a whole year. They get lines around the block. People are going nuts on social media. The local news sets up Larry in the traffic helicopter to give you a better view of how many people are braving the heat, the cold, the rain, taking time off work, or quit their jobs to win some mediocre free sandwiches. Yeah, I'm not a fan. This brings me to one of the most blatantly obvious examples of games in the restaurant industry, the Monopoly game at McDonald's. They've been doing this for more than 20 years now, offering prizes ranging from $1 million or a new SUV to an order of fries worth 99 cents or the universally popular McToast. When companies operate at or near Nash equilibrium, there's not much room to gain advantage over your competition. However, when you've got a product that people want, or prizes they'd sell their firstborn to win, you can apparently drive sales even more by making your customers compete for your products. Let's see if you can guess what my next example is going to be. This is a game that costs no money to play, but their makers make billions of dollars every year. Any guesses? Of course, I'm talking about Fortnite. In fiscal year 2018, they made $1.2 billion. When it was released on the App Store, they were pulling in $2 million a day just from people on Apple devices. Players are streaming gameplay of Fortnite with 30 million people watching live. So how are they making massive amounts of money when the game is free? Traditionally, video game makers charge you $30 to $60 to buy the game for Xbox, PlayStation, or PC and play it online. With the onslaught of mobile gaming and thousands of free games, there's a huge subset of users that refuse to pay to play. Candy Crush proved to us that free games could be both massively popular as well as profitable. They pioneered the microtransaction model that allowed players to purchase items that would help them in the game once they were hooked and couldn't put it down. Although this proved disastrous for other games like Star Wars Battlefront, it worked for casual gamers and made King, the makers of Candy Crush, billions in revenue. Fortnite utilizes the microtransaction model, however, they don't allow you to buy anything that even helps you in the game. Every purchase you make is simply for skins, accessories, or dances for your player. Some of these skins are made artificially rare with low supply, driving their popularity. People play the game because it's on every platform you can think of. It's fun, more kid-friendly than other first-person shooters. That doesn't even sound right, does it? But they make money, so much money, because people want to have the coolest virtual outfit when they stream their gameplay on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook. They make no money on the actual zero-sum game of Fortnite, where only one player wins, but all their money on the positive sum, everybody wins Battle Royale for the goofiest hat that can be seen on their live stream. In this presentation, we talked about the origins of game theory and how it affects many aspects of modern life. We discussed zero-sum and positive-sum games, and eventually looked at some examples of their effectiveness at driving sales. We looked at Nash equilibrium and determined that many successful retailers operate at or near this equilibrium with little room for movement. We discussed socially optimal solutions and touched on why many businesses don't operate this way. And we also examined Hotelling's model of spatial competition and discovered why similar businesses release nearly identical products and open their doors in close proximity. And finally, we looked at some real-world examples of businesses that employ aspects of game theory and see massive success because of it. I hope you like this presentation on how game theory can improve business. If you're interested in this topic and want to learn more, find these sources in the description below. Thanks for watching.